You'll be soaked.
You want to get wet, Mama?
One more time. Mommy, get wet one more time.
Okay. Good, Mama. Good.
I just like the way that we ride. I wanna keep you around. Every single day, every night. I wanna let you know that I'm down. I just wanna keep you around. And every single day, every night, I wanna keep you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Harris Hope and Humor. The topic for this week is my postpartum depression. You with this camera. First of all, you look so stiff. Can you get comfortable? Okay. So I recently talked to my therapist, and she diagnosed me with postpartum depression, which honestly, what was surprising but shouldn't have been super surprising because I had heard this before. So around when Noelle was 1.5 going on 2, in the midst of Leon's repeated hospital stays, there was a really bad day that happened for us when we were living in the condo. Leon was doing his bowel regimen, and it started more so I guess the first red flag should have been I went to nurse her one night, and I was really weirded out because I had this really uncomfortable feeling with nursing, and it was I literally had chills down my spine, and I could not wait for her to get off of me. And I knew it was this is just not my norm because I loved breastfeeding. So it was so this is something's not right. So I ended up I cried myself to sleep because I was literally laying there I want to toss her off of me, and I know that I can't, and I don't know why I feel like this, and it was out of the blue. So I ended up looking it up, and it was a breastfeeding aversion. And so I found a Facebook group, tried to get some tips on how to deal with it because I wasn't ready to be done breastfeeding yet. And then the next incident was middle of the day, time for a nap, trying to nurse her to sleep, and I'm being unsuccessful at it. And so I'm overwhelmed, I'm frustrated. Leon's doing his bowel regimen, and I can tell he's super uncomfortable. He's on the toilet, he's rocking back and forth, and this is when he had the first pressure sore. And so next thing you know, he's bleeding out of his hip onto the floor, and there's something hanging, and he's what do we do? I don't know what this is. And I have Noelle on one in front of me. She's following me everywhere. She's crying. She wants to nurse. She wants to go to sleep. I want her to go to sleep so I can figure out what's going on with him. And next thing you know, I'm behind the front door of our condo in a ball, in tears, yelling and crying for her to get away from me and not to touch me. The neighbor across the hall probably thought Leon was in there beating me because he knocked on the door and was trying to make sure everything was okay. And I'm if I don't answer, he's definitely going to think something's wrong. But if I answer, it really is not, there's no way to, without telling the full story, to make this look better than what it was. So I ended up calling a friend that lived in the building to get some help, to get Noelle situated while I got him off the toilet into his chair, cleaned up the blood, headed to the ER, had my brother meet me in the emergency room because he works at Lincoln to help with Noelle, which was a waste of time because she would not even go to him. It was after that I talked to my therapist to figure out how to handle everything because I was definitely something I'm overwhelmed. And the crazy part is I had like, I have a lot of support. I think Leon ended up in the hospital, like, probably a week, because every hospital stay was a week at that point. And it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to know that you're not okay, and to say, I'm not okay, but I don't know what I need. And I don't want to say it was an issue, but one of the things that I could have done differently was to have verbalized better that I wasn't okay and I didn't know what I needed. So when people would call me to be like, hey, we understand, like, Leon's not doing, can we do anything for you? And if in that moment they called and it wasn't literally anything that I needed, I would just say, I'm fine. Like, we're good. I got this under control. But I could have just easily had also said, I'm not okay, but I don't know what I need. And so he ended up in the hospital for a week. So I thought I had enough time to kind of like get better with this nursing aversion thing. Go to pick Noelle up, and I am like, again, cringy. And I don't even know if I don't even remember if that's when I actually stopped. But I knew I was at my mom's, and I was like, again, in tears, because I was like, I have to stop, and I don't want to, and I wasn't ready to be done breastfeeding. But I knew, I was like, I can't, this is no longer enjoyable. And so what's the point of me doing it if it's no longer enjoyable? And yes, there's a ton of health benefits to it, but she was also going on too, where it was more the bond than it was like nutritional, like a nutritional need for her. So for me to be like so uncomfortable, I like had to mourn the fact that I really needed to be done. So I tried to slowly transition, because I didn't want to do cold turkey. So I tried to slowly transition her from nursing. And so I ended up, my therapist had recommended that I go see my gynecologist and get my hormone levels checked to see if it was something else like going on. And my gynecologist was the one who said to me, I don't think this is your hormones. I think that this is postpartum depression. And I think the reason why you're having trouble nursing is because it's your body's way of saying, this is something we don't have to do. It's my body's way of saying, oh my God, this is one more thing that we have to do in the grand scheme of things that was everything that was going on. And so she started me on Zoloft, and I did I did okay with it. I have a hard time remembering to take my medicine, which is actually part of postpartum depression, is the fogginess of the brain. And so I think as things got better with him, things seemed to be better with my depression. And so I felt what I guess I thought was okay until the pandemic hit. Pandemic number 1 hit, and I'm on the front line, and I'm taking care of these people. And I did like a free month of Talkspace, because that was offered to healthcare professionals. I mean, she wasn't a great fit for me. I really didn't love the idea of just like the texting thing, because I just felt like it wasn't a constant conversation. And I think when I did it, I was trying to get ahead of whatever I was thinking I was going to feel with dealing with COVID. And it just kind of ended up just being like, And so I decided after that, I wanted to find me a black therapist. I said, I want to just find somebody that's just for me, because we have a therapist that we were using that was, we used it more preventative for issues in our marriage. Yeah. And so we did start to use her individually, but I just kind of was like, I just really want, not that I love her. It was nothing wrong with her. I was like, I just want to try somebody else. So I found a local therapist, Black Girl Magic, and after a few sessions, she diagnosed me just as recently with postpartum depression. And it's just I think it was like all a combination of what it's like to be Black in America right now, what it's like to be on the front line, and to really like own all of those feelings. We're still dealing with pressure sores. I'm still mothering a toddler. And that in itself is too much. And so I think like the combination of it all, I definitely could tell that something was just not, like, I just wasn't myself. And so...
And I don't think... I knew, like, I could tell stuff was different, but I didn't... I guess as, in our culture, we just don't label depression.
Right.
So I didn't label it. I just was like, what's going on with her? But I didn't label it as depression. And I feel like since I've known now the last couple weeks, I feel like I look at things differently. I think things have been better, in my point, for me.
Yeah, I think just being aware of it kind of helped both of us to know like how to deal with it, because a lot of like I feel like a lot of the symptoms and the signs of it could easily be identified as like something else. So my forgetfulness, it goes from, people always say it's pregnancy brain which turns into mommy brain. So I didn't think that it was depression. I just thought like, oh my God, is this my new normal that I'm going to be forgetting stuff? And what the trigger for me was going to the supermarket and having to literally repeatedly say to myself, don't forget to get cash back. Don't forget to get cash back. I'm saying this to myself in my head as I'm checking out. And then I'm proud of myself for not forgetting to get the cash back, but I actually forgot to physically pick up the cash. So I'm in the parking lot and the employee from the Acme comes out and asks me, is it my money? And I went home livid. And I was like, I can't live like this. I cannot. I'm only 36. I was like, is there something wrong in my brain? Like, I was like, this can't be our life. Like, there's no way I can live like this at 36. But then, talking to my therapist, we realized that, like, I can't concentrate. I have a hard time concentrating. I have a hard time focusing. And that's part of why I have a hard time remembering stuff. I'm constantly tired. And so, of course, you don't think that that's postpartum depression. You think it's life. You think it's, everything that's happening in the midst of a pandemic. Why wouldn't I be tired? I'm uninterested in a lot of, like, my usual activities. Honestly, the pandemic is a great excuse for somebody like me with postpartum depression, because now I don't have to feel bad about not wanting to go to events, not wanting to be around people. It's like, for me, is the perfect excuse to like get out of it's like the get out of jail free card. It's like, oh no, it's not safe.
That Rona, bro.
That Rona, we not social distancing. Oh, great, can't be there. Oh, gotta work. Like and I noticed that, like, it wasn't until it was brought to my attention that I was like, yeah, I love this isolation because this is safe for me. This is where I like to be. And my doctor was like, oh yeah, that's not really like healthy. And then there was another day where I left work early, came home, and I was like, great, I'm gonna get me some caffeine in me, which is not good for anybody with postpartum depression and anxiety. I was like, I just want to enjoy the fact that, like, I got off work early. I want to enjoy my family. Like, it was the 4th of July, and it was, like, just the 3 of us. Mm-hmm. So I was like, let's, like, make the most of it. So I went and got myself a little fancy caffeinated drink from Wawa. I come home, and he takes Noelle outside to, like, paint. And I'm at the door taking pictures of him because it's so cute. And I was like, I really should get dressed and, like, go outside and join them. And I go into the room to figure out what I'm going to put on, and next thing you know, I'm in tears, and I can't figure out, like, why. And I'm just, like, sobbing, and I'm like, well, let me just cry it out, and then I'll get up and I'll feel better. And I didn't. And the rest of that day was, like, just a very low day for me. But I also, like, that's when I started to notice that I didn't even enjoy doing the simple things in life that I typically should enjoy or want to enjoy. And that's when I started to see the real disconnect of, like, I barely wanted to play with her. I really enjoyed her having her independent play, but almost to the point where it was, like, getting to probably be too much independent play. I was really short-tempered with her, easily frustrated with her. And it affects all of us because then it's more on his plate. And then he's not getting a break because he's already with her all day long while I'm at work. And then on my days off, he's still with her because I don't want to get out of bed half the time. Even if I do get out of bed, I'm going onto the couch into the same seat. And I'm sitting there doing the same thing. I'm not even watching TV shows because I can't concentrate. I can't focus on them. If it's not anything that's comedy related, I didn't want to watch it. So I would spend my day between scrolling on Facebook, scrolling on Instagram, scrolling on Pinterest, and not even absorbing anything. And then if it was too overwhelming, given all of the Black Lives Matter stuff, then I was like, okay, well, now what am I doing? Because that's just depressing me to even look at some of the stories. And, just to have to live that part of life, it just So now here we are. I'm working with a therapist that I enjoy, and my doctor, my primary care physician, put me back on the Zoloft. She wants to give it 2 weeks to see if the dose that I'm on is high enough. She thinks that could be the problem why I don't feel better. I'm actually almost done the 2 weeks, and I actually feel much better. I won't say phenomenal, but I do feel much better. Way more patient, way more happy. My lows don't feel as low. Like I had some lows that were definitely like, all I wanted to do was get in my bed and cry. And I don't know why, but I just feel like that's what I need today. And I don't know how to like not feel like that. So, if the 25 milligrams of Zoloft don't work, I'm going to go up to 50. Just trying to be more consistent with exercise. And my therapist helped me to realize that it doesn't necessarily have to be exercise. I could really just play with her and run around with her and jump with her for like 10 minutes. And that's enough just to kind of like change those serotonin levels so that I would feel more like myself. And so that's pretty much where we are right now. I'm going to continue therapy. I'm seeing her at least once a week, if not a full hour-long session, at least 30 minutes, just so that she can check in with me, see where we are, and just kind of continue to get me into a better place. I'm also taking ginseng because I don't have a lot of energy, and so that was like a more natural alternative. Because honestly, caffeine just triggers the anxiety that, not to say comes with depression, but I also do have anxiety, and so caffeine is not really a good thing for me. But I would like to have the energy to like enjoy my family and go to work and be able to focus at work. But I wanted Leon to be here for this discussion because I wanted to hear or like share his thoughts and point of views on what it's been like as the husband and as the father in this scenario.
No, I mean it's been difficult. Because I'm with the child 24/7. So sometimes it just be like, you don't feel like you get a little break. The only break I get is the hospital.
Yeah.
And like I said, I never like held it as a resentment towards you or anything like that. Even like now, like I feel better knowing like it's not per se you. You know what I'm saying? But I've noticed in the last couple weeks things have been better, especially since we know more about it and we talked about it and we try to do things. And it just helps me to help you when I know that you're about to put something on yourself that you need to stay out of. Normally before I used to just like, that's your situation, but not like that. Like it's a support husband, just like you know what's best for you. But now I kind of step in and be like, nah, you can chill. So I just feel like now, just things being out, like just knowing and being more aware of things, I think has definitely helped us. I'm trying to find something happened to the patience I had with the child, so I got to find my patience back.
Yeah, I thought this was an important topic to share, especially given the fact that my diagnosis didn't really come until Noel was like 1.5 going on 2, and then now 2.5 going on 3, because postpartum depression can actually happen up until your child is 3 years old. So I just feel like my experience is probably different than what is honestly different than what I think like the picture that you have in your head of what, my biggest concern when I first had her was, am I able to go back to work? Like, am I normal enough to like go back to my normal life? Because I think I've heard stories about people who it's triggered in the very beginning, and they have a hard time like connecting with their newborn and the whole process of becoming a mom. And I just feel like that wasn't my experience, and so it was very interesting to hear how it happened for me and what a lot of those like signs and symptoms are. And I think even just how I'm talking in this video kind of speaks to my postpartum depression, because I do kind of feel like I'm all over the place with the conversation because I'm trying not to forget stuff. Um,
No, I feel like we fine. No, I feel like it's fine. No, you
but I
fine.
do also feel like there's like one of the last video, the video when Noel wet us. I could see myself like constantly looking over. I was distracted by the squirrels, and like it's little stuff like that that like I notice now that I may not have noticed before, or other people probably don't notice. Like I had a really bad day at work recently, and something that I personally have to work on, that I'm working on in therapy, is forgiving myself and giving myself room to not be like perfect. And not that I strive for perfection, but like I'm hard on myself. And so like I had what I considered a really bad day. I still feel a little slightly traumatized by it. But like nothing that anybody said to me made me feel better in that day. And I think it was because I knew something wasn't right. And this is before I realized it was postpartum depression, because I was forgetting to do stuff. And it was like, even though it didn't harm anybody in any way, shape, or form, I was still able to perform my job at the level that's acceptable. It just wasn't acceptable for me. And so I was struggling that day to be okay with the mistakes that I was making. And it was right after the whole I left the money in the supermarket thing. And I just was really like, y'all don't understand. It's more to the story, but I don't want to really tell y'all my business, because this is work, and it needs to just be work. But like I feel much better now, knowing what it is, understanding it a little bit better, not fully. I actually didn't do any research like I typically do. But in the place of like sharing it with my family so that they're kind of aware, changing up the way I say things to people to just kind of own where I am in this whole thing. And not even just the depression, just life. Like, sorry, I ain't coming. And honestly, when people say that, that needs to be enough. A no is a complete sentence. I'm not coming needs to be a complete sentence. There does not need to be an explanation behind all of these things. Just take it for what it is and don't take offense to it. Because sometimes you don't know what's behind the no, what's behind the I'm not coming, blah, 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 blah. So if anybody has any tips for me that they think might be helpful, drop them in the comment section. If anybody's experiencing anything similar to this and want to chat with me, feel free to inbox us or email us at harrishopenhumor@gmail.com. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Bye.